Newsflash! Yeah, hi, Captain Obvious here. We're fat, and we're getting fatter. We have an epidemic of obesity in this country, and it's trickling down to our kids. Don't believe me? Just take a look around the mall and you'll see what I'm talking about, right? It's that one last bastion of judgment that we can still pass on people, right? The discrimination against the obese, that's still okay. But what if we have it wrong? What if we're blaming the person instead of a condition? Play along with me here just for a few minutes here. I recently watched a TED Talk by Dr. Peter Attica, an ER surgeon. He talked about a couple scenarios that he had encountered as a doctor. One, he was called into the ER to consult. Pulled open the curtain, saw an obese woman, type 2 diabetes, smell of rotting flesh. He was consulting on whether or not she had to have her foot amputated. In another instance, young woman, newlywed, came in with severe back pain. After running a couple tests, they found out that she had severe pancreatic cancer in some of the final stages. This doctor admits that he showed much more compassion for the woman with cancer than he did the obese woman with diabetes, leading to an amputation. Why? Well, she didn't choose to get cancer. The other woman chose to eat the Snicker instead of a salad, right? So if you would have just made some of the tough choices, you wouldn't be standing here with some stranger telling you you need to have your foot cut off. That's how the doctor thought. Until about 3 years later, this doctor who exercised 3 to 4 hours a day, followed the food pyramid to a T, started getting fat, putting on weight, couldn't get rid of it. Went to his doctor to find out that he had a metabolic syndrome. He was insulin resistant, and he was on his way to getting diabetes.
With that scare, I got busy changing my diet radically, adding and subtracting things most of you would find almost assuredly shocking. I did this and lost 40 pounds, weirdly, while exercising less. As you can see, I guess I'm not overweight anymore. More importantly, I don't have insulin resistance. But most important, I was left with these 3 burning questions that wouldn't go away. How did this happen to me if I was supposedly doing everything right? If the conventional wisdom about nutrition had failed me, was it possible it was failing someone else? And underlying these questions, I became almost maniacally obsessed in trying to understand the real relationship between obesity and insulin resistance.
All right, so most research says obesity leads to insulin resistance. So if you want to treat insulin resistance, you lose weight. But what if we have it backwards?
What if obesity isn't the cause of insulin resistance at all? In fact, what if it's a symptom of a much deeper problem? The tip of a proverbial iceberg. I know it sounds crazy because we're obviously in the midst of an obesity epidemic, but hear me out. What if obesity is a coping mechanism for a far more sinister problem going on underneath the cell? I'm not suggesting that obesity is benign, but what I am suggesting is it may be the lesser of 2 metabolic evils.
Interesting, huh? Yeah. I don't know if Dr. Attica is right. I don't even know if I agree with him, but I do know that I'm not a medical expert, and those much smarter than I will have to dive into this research and come to their own conclusion. What I do know is we're not getting any skinnier. So what if our fundamental ideas on obesity are wrong? Isn't it worth at least exploring? Albert Einstein said it best. Definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.